Good morning, welcome to CATEX TV. My name is Frank Fortunato. Today is Monday, May 19th, 2014. In the United States, the same horse that won the Kentucky Derby won the Preakness on Saturday, so in, I believe, 2 weeks' time, there's a possibility of a Triple Crown winner at the Belmont Stakes. We'll all hold our breath and see. In bigger news, the United States apparently is going to announce in about half an hour the first criminal charges to be brought against a foreign government for conducting economic cyber espionage against U.S. companies. That country, of course, will be China. The United States Attorney General Eric Holder is going to have a press conference beginning at 10 a.m. in Washington, D.C. It's going to be a criminal indictment. This is followed up by vows from senior administration officials that they're going to hold other nations accountable for computer theft of intellectual property. So this will no doubt be a very interesting series of discussions to have now for President Obama's visit to China later this year. There was another event in South Korea now, apparently in a city just south of Seoul, a city called Geun-hye this morning. Part of a subway train's electrical insulation was damaged and triggered an explosion at the station. The line was shut down very quickly by emergency officials. Fortunately, no one was injured. Of course, this follows up what's been going on in South Korea, the ferry disaster that killed 300 people last month. And then earlier this month, the subway train ran into the back of another train at a station also in Seoul, causing minor injuries to about 200 people. Earlier today, the president of South Korea went on television and tearfully apologized, along with a very deep bow for the actions of the government in failing to implement safety regulations and safety laws, as well as to have the Coast Guard adequately prepared to remove the stricken passengers from the ship, the ferry that sank. President Park's first televised address to the nation since the tragedy of the ferry sinking began with a deep bow and ended with her tearfully reading the names of passengers and crew who died trying to save others. It was a very interesting speech in that the emotion that she showed, with tears coming out of both eyes with the camera up close on her, was something that would not be seen in the West. The Coast Guard is going to be disbanded and put under the auspices of the National Police Department. Apparently, she is calling for a rooting out of widespread corruption and collusion between shippers and those who regulate it. Belgrade in Serbia is bracing for a river water surge that is going to inundate the city. The city, which has several million people and is the capital of Serbia, is struggling with the consequences of the worst flooding in southwestern Europe in more than a century. At least 17 people have died in Serbia, another 17 have died in Bosnia. The coal-fired Nikola Tesla power plant, which supplies half the electricity for Serbia and all of Belgrade, is probably going to be put out of action by the flood. As if the deadly flooding isn't enough, what's happening also is that the flood is now churning up long-hidden landmines that have remained underground since the Balkan War. The landmines are now uprooted and floating around with the rising floodwaters. Could be a terrible situation. We'll be watching that, of course. Seismologists are reporting that a 5.2 earthquake struck central Albania earlier today. The earthquake occurred about 44 kilometers south of the capital of Tirana. Some homes and apartment blocks have shown cracks, but apparently nobody's been reported injured. On Saturday night at 6:46 p.m., there was a 4.2 earthquake in the German state of Hesse. This is a highly irregular event in that area. There were a number of buildings that were damaged as well as apartments as well. Seismologists are saying the strength is considerable for our area. It's the strongest earthquake in the last 20 years to have hit Hesse. 31 children and one adult were killed in Colombia yesterday when fuel exploded on a broken-down bus returning from a church event. Listen to this. There was a canister of gasoline inside the vehicle. The fire began after the bus driver attempted to start the broken-down bus by pouring fuel into the engine, which he accessed through the floor of the cabin. The bus then caught on fire and subsequently blew up. The driver did escape. A truck fire closed the eastbound span of the Bay Bridge Sunday evening just outside of Baltimore. It's one of the vital north-south arteries in the United States, Route 95, I-95. All lanes were reopened in time for the Monday morning commute this morning. The Maryland Department of Transportation indicated at 7:40 p.m. last night that the westbound span was being set up to operate with two-way traffic to accommodate eastbound travelers. Traffic was held on the southern span at around 7 p.m. Fire crews were on the scene. There are dramatic pictures showing the cab of a tractor-trailer on fire with a thick plume of black smoke blowing toward the eastern shore. They're fortunate that this did not happen on a Friday night in the summer, when people are trying to get to the eastern shore for vacations. That's the news for today. We'll be watching the press conference that Eric Holder is going to be holding. And if we have any breaking news, we'll come back and tell you. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.